You're talking hella reckless, I ain't even stressing. Kill him softly with my presence, won't even address it. Say it's lonely at the top, but this the best shit ever.
Even if we die today, this shit gon' live forever. Live forever.
Oh, I didn't bring my water. That's fine. We're already committed. Already committed to what we're doing, so we're just gonna do it. Okay. What up, what up, what up? This is Rainbows and Unicorns, the show where I just dive in because life is not all rainbows and unicorns. Although we try to make it be that way. So I'm super stoked. This is week 1 of my community coaching program. I launched the Freedom Fam, which is a collective of people coming together to be the change they want to see and create that change they want to see. The goal of Rainbows and Unicorns, like, this is like a soft reset, right? I launched the pod, I haven't been consistent. I have spent the last month creating a plan with systems, recording, coming up with topics that really helped me as I built out the coaching or the community, building out the Freedom Fam community. As I was building it out, I had to go back and really understand where I came from, how I got to where I am today, and really re-walk through the steps that I took to get to who I am today, being more disciplined than I had been in the past, being more motivated than I had in the past. So I'm going to inform you, support you, motivate you, and just help you get to where you want to be and reach those goals. So let's just back up a little bit. I know I've hit on this before in the past, but again, this is like a soft reset. So if I'm diving back in, just stick with me. I promise there's going to be a lot more information coming, especially around nutrition and mindset, which is what the Freedom Fam is about, what that community was built for, to really help people have a community to support their nutrition, to support their mindset, to get them to whatever goal it is that they're working towards. I was very unmotivated and undisciplined for a long time. I didn't follow through on my word. I would say I'm going to do something and then I wouldn't do it. And so it was really hard because I would be like, yeah, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and then I would not keep that promise to myself. And so I started losing trust with myself, and in turn, I wasn't trusting honestly anyone around me. I still have a hard time trusting people. I have a hard time believing in people and that they're going to show up when I need them to show up because they've been burned so many times. But I was unmotivated and undisciplined, and it led back to my habits, and my habits were just really disrespectful to who I am as a human. I had no respect for myself at all. I truly lived a life of sex, drugs, and rock and roll, like straight up. That was it. That's what I lived for right before my injury, right after my injury. After I got paralyzed, things really didn't change right away. It still was me partying nonstop, drinking almost every day. Before I was injured, I drank every day. There wasn't a day that went by that I didn't drink and stay up late and eat like trash, maybe eat one meal a day. I was an atheist, so I believed in nothing at all. And having nothing to believe in really makes you not live. When you believe in nothing, you're unguided, you're unsupported. You have nothing to kind of keep you going when the going gets tough. And so finding faith really gave me that kind of structure where when the going got tough, I knew there was a higher power that I could rely on and lean on to help me through those hard times. And when I first got kind of exposed to my faith journey and started actually diving into my faith journey, I would be like, it's better just to do the things and be a good person and there be no heaven than to do none of the things and then end up at the end of my life and there be a heaven and I can't make it. So what do I have to lose from being a better person and being a good person? I will say that my paralysis, even though I got paralyzed, I continued that lifestyle. So I was drinking, I was eating like trash. Like, y'all, when I tell you I was eating like trash, you know those small cheesecakes that you get at the grocery store? I would take one of them boys to the dome in one sitting. I thought that was a personal cheesecake when then you look at the calories in one slice and you're like, oh, that's a whole day's worth of meals in one cheesecake. And it was no wonder that how quickly I gained 30 pounds. It seemed like overnight, but it was about a year. It went on quick. And it was really hard to get the weight off. And I think something that a lot of people mistake in their weight loss journey is they think the weight's gonna fall off like that. And it's not. It's not. It took time for you to put that weight on. It's going to take time for you to get that weight off, and time doing the consistent, correct habits. And when we recognize that and understand that, that's what allows us to actually achieve a long-term result. Taking a quick fix out, like this fad diet or this fad pharmaceutical, like Ozempic, right? And when people go off Ozempic, there's a good chance they're going to put the weight back on because they didn't change the lifestyle habit that they needed to change in the first place to get the result they were after. So you're telling me you're going to take this drug for an entire lifetime? Or you're going to do this diet for an entire lifetime? When you can make simple adjustments to your lifestyle? But that also takes discipline. And you create discipline through your daily habits. And if your daily habits are not constructive to your growth, then you are not going to develop discipline to be able to execute the habits. So you've got to have, I always say start with one habit, just one. And for me, it was making my bed. Making my bed was a big one because I'd leave that boy a mess. So I started making my bed. And when I was consistent with that for probably about a week, I'm like, cool, let's add another habit. And it was tracking my food, I think was the next one. And being consistent in tracking everything. And so I was very consistent in that. And I will say the last probably 4 months, I haven't tracked consistently, but I also haven't gained weight. Because I learned about food and what foods to eat and how much to eat to allow me to maintain the weight that I'm at. Now I'm about to go into an actual goal or aesthetic goal with my body or a performance goal where I'm looking to put on some mass and actually gain some strength. And so in order to put on a healthy amount of weight, I want to be sure that I am tracking my food to be able to measure that, because you cannot manage what you don't measure. And that's the big thing with weight loss is a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to count calories. It's not counting calories, it's counting macronutrients. That's the protein, carbs, and fats that you consume. And if you manage your macronutrients properly and get the correct amount to support your metabolism and your overall metabolic function, then your body's actually going to perform properly and do what you're trying to do in that weight loss. You're going to learn about foods and what foods serve that. So eventually you won't have to track and you can actually just intuitively eat enough of the correct things. And I think that we look so much at the short term and not enough at the long term. So after I got paralyzed, I gained 30 pounds. Like I said, it felt like overnight. It was within a year. And I kept getting UTIs. And so my first year, I was hospitalized twice with an infection in my intestines called C. diff. And this is a gnarly infection. It's disgusting. It's the worst smell you will ever smell in your life. Your bowels just constantly just evacuate. There's nothing you can do. No, it doesn't matter what you eat, what you don't eat. If you do Pepto-Bismol or anything like that, it was not stopping it. It was just literally, it was like water, and it was the worst smell ever. And it was caused from the antibiotics I had been taking from having a UTI, because I use catheters, and so that's what I was told. I would get UTIs regularly, and I'm telling you, I would get rid of one and I'd have to be right back on antibiotics. And I'm 22 years old, and I'm like a year into my spinal cord injury, and just thinking, how am I going to live a lifetime like this? I am 22. I'm not even a third of the way through my life right now, and I am supposed to live a lifetime like this. And so it was definitely very unnerving. And I started changing things because I had gained the weight and I was struggling with infections. So I started changing my diet mentally and physically. So what I was consuming through my mouth and through my eyes into my brain and ears. And I started thinking about my physical diet. So what am I doing to support my brain? What am I doing to support my body? And I started I found CrossFit at that point. I tried pretty much every diet under the sun, from keto to paleo to Whole30. To vegan. I went vegan for a month, and that was miserable. I love meat too much to go vegan, I'm not gonna lie. But I wanted to try different things to kind of have an understanding, and it was before I was even a nutrition coach. And so I was just trying these different diets to try and find things to lose the parabelly, because that's my biggest thing. insecurity. That's the word I was looking for. My biggest insecurity is my belly. I was paralyzed from the middle. I'm sorry, there's a gnat flying around. I had to get rid of it. I'm paralyzed from the middle of my chest down, and so my core muscles don't work well, and my belly just what I call bellies. And I honestly just hate it. I'm so insecure about it, and I still am. I'm a little better, but it's still something that I'm just very conscious of because I look pregnant a lot of the times, especially around my cycle. I look about 5-6 months pregnant, to the point where I've been asked. Bree and I went to a music festival back in 2022, September 2022, and as we were going through the security in the car, we were still in the car, the woman said, "Oh my gosh, are you pregnant?" And I just was like, no, I'm not. I'm paralyzed. Other P. And so we all have insecurities, and we all have things that we're working towards. And I tried all these fad diets, and none of them worked, man. None of them. And I got so frustrated and so discouraged that I just stopped eating. And so I was eating 1 meal, maybe 2 meals a day, and having a protein shake. So I was eating nowhere near enough. The protein shake I was using was complete trash. It didn't mix well. It was super chalky. It tasted terrible. And later on I found out that's because of the way protein's processed. A lot of supplements as a whole aren't regulated, so a lot of companies use the cheaper way of processing, which is high temperature or added chemicals, and it breaks down the protein itself, so the supplement isn't actually supporting your body because your body can't even break it down and utilize it properly, which is a whole thing that's not talked about enough. So there's all these just crappy supplements on the market that aren't actually helping you, and that's definitely what I was taking. And so when I started tracking my nutrition 3 years later, I was only eating about 30 to 60 grams of protein a day. I was probably eating 500 to 800 calories a day at most. So I was not eating enough. I was not consuming enough, which is why 5 years into my spinal cord injury, I started having muscle breakdown. And this is why I say my paralysis is my superpower, because it forces me to pay attention to my body and understand what's going on with it. If I eat ice cream or cupcakes, high processed sugary foods, within 10 to 15 minutes, I'm experiencing stabbing nerve pain in my side. Within 10 to 15 minutes, I'm experiencing stabbing nerve pain. My body's telling me, hey, I don't like that. I can't consume that. So the same thing, I started paying attention. What am I consuming? How's it making my body feel? Is this causing pain? Is it not? And I realized how much food was controlling the way my body felt and my pain levels. And I was like, wow, I wonder if alcohol was doing this to me before I was injured. Sugar was doing this to me before I was injured. And obviously it was, because me getting paralyzed, now my body has a defense mechanism to tell me when it doesn't like something. And so I found that very interesting. It made me realize how much we ignore the signs, especially when we're completely non-disabled and our body's fully functioning, because the signs are so dull because our full body functions. Whereas being paralyzed, I'm getting localized pain that's telling me, hey, this isn't working for me. So I just thought that was very interesting, and I just challenge everyone to pay attention to the way different foods affect their body, paralyzed or not, and then think about what you're doing now and how it's going to affect you 10, 15, 20 years from now. And my whole thing was I don't want to depend on anybody as I age. And I realized I'm at a little bit of a deficit already using a wheelchair at such a young age. And so I'm like, I want to be as independent as possible for as long as possible, which is why I eat the way I do, why my lifestyle is the way it is, because I have to do the things to support that independence. And if I don't do the things, then I will not achieve the desired goal. You really are a result of your habits. Literally what happens is an accumulation of the habits that you've been doing. You gaining 30 pounds is nothing to do with the last 6 months and everything to do with the last 6 years. What have you been doing to get yourself to this point? And I think understanding that and realizing that allows you to stay more disciplined and motivated in whatever it is that you're after. So if you're trying to gain results, if you're trying to create more change, if you're trying to get a desired outcome, the habits that you keep are going to have a massive, massive impact on that. So you want to be sure that your habits are supporting who it is that you want to become. Understand this. I'm going to leave you with this one thing. And if there was like a nugget in here where you gained value or you felt excited, share this with a friend directly. Like, give them the link and be like, hey, I love this from the podcast. Comment on it. Do the things to help the algorithm and help it grow. I really appreciate your guys' support. But I want everyone to remember that we all have a day one. We all have a starting line. And there's nothing to be embarrassed about starting. There's nothing to feel some type about. There's nothing to be discouraged about. You are starting. And that's what's important. You are taking the initiative to actually create a desired result in your life. And you should be proud of you for taking that first step. Thank you. You have a great day. And I will see you so soon. 1, 2. Why are we so shaky? Relax. Tranquilo, legs.